Yeah. Okay. Thank you. It was a good one. It was strange, silly, but we got it running. So, Tope, how are you doing?
I'm good,
Hello?
bro. Alpha.
We're
Nice
doing
to see
very good.
you. Nice to see you, Itunu.
Good to see you. Good to
Can
see
you
you.
hear
Good to see
me?
you. I can hear you loud and clear. I can hear you
Okay,
loud and
fantastic.
clear. Yeah. So, uh, I am on with Tope Fasua, the popular Tope Fasua, the Abuja big boy,
Mhm.
the Harvard grad,
Indeed.
the London School of Business grad.
Oh,
And I'm so happy to have you around. I'm so happy to have you on this program to help the youth, to help the system, to help the country. And it's a big one. It's a big one for me that I can have someone of your pedigree to join my live broadcast, and I'm so happy to have that. So,
right.
so
I'm
our
happy
guests
to
are
have.
joining us. To begin with, can you please introduce yourself to the public?
Yeah, that's the hard part. Usually I don't really like talking about myself that much
And you have to
because
do it
I
now.
don't believe I don't believe I've achieved anything that much. And sometimes it sounds like self-praise. Anyhow, but I think my name is Tope Fasha. I contested for the presidency in 2019. I'm one of those hard-headed guys who believe that they can make an impact and that we can't afford to keep waiting. I took that chance when I thought that, look, nobody knows what will happen in 2023. And, it was just the opportune time. Aside from that, I'm an economist, I'm a chartered accountant. Um, yeah, I also have a master's degree um, in financial markets and derivatives from London Metropolitan University. I'm rounding up a PhD now in Walden University on public policy. So from economics to chartered accounting to financial markets and derivatives, now to public policy and policy analysis and leadership. That's my PhD. I've done my
Mm,
first three chapters. I like to be versatile that way. I like to learn a lot about many things. Though we don't have enough time in this world, but I believe that knowledge counts.
that's a good one. If you call this they said you don't want it to appear like a self praise, right?
Yep. Yes, sir.
If you don't want to praise yourself, then who will praise you? Me? I won't.
Well, okay, maybe the distinction is between praise and just generally telling of or sharing your passion. I would rather share my passion than
Praise myself.
praise myself. Yes, that's the way I look
Okay.
at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Mr. Tope, please go to your Facebook page now if you can navigate through and share this video before we dive into the sea of today's interview. Can you do that? So your friends can
Sorry, that what?
also view. Can you go
Yeah,
ahead and
I
share the
can share
video?
it. I'll share it.
Okay, okay. Yeah.
Absolutely,
So
that's not a problem.
mhm. So like I said,
Done.
it's one thing to be it's one thing to be a Nigerian. It's another thing to be the real Nigerian that we all talk about. But it's so difficult for us to have the real we picture a kind of Nigerian. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a picture of a Nigeria. Then it's a different thing
Hmm.
now. It's a difficult thing now for us to walk through to creating the picture we have in mind to bring it to reality.
Hmm.
Can you tell us in 2 minutes the most intriguing part of your growing up? I was growing up. I was how beautiful was
Ah,
it?
well, I think my growing up was quite fast, So I think the remarkable thing was that I was 8 years old when I got into secondary school. But no, perhaps not because I was particularly smart, but I think it was in the Jakonde days in Lagos. And they just
Okay.
came one day. We were just finishing primary four in the nursery and primary school that I was attending. Then in Olonshogo machine called Santa Maria. And they moved all
Santa
of us
Maria.
from
Okay.
primary. We were just finishing primary four, five, and six, and sent us to these Jakonde schools in Okota. There was a Keja Grammar School, Mushin Grammar School, all sorts. You know, I think I ended up in Mushin Grammar School for 1 year before my family moved to back to Akure, and then I went to Army Comprehensive High School in Akure, Ondo State. But I was kind of pretty young, so I was in my first WAEC in 8, 9, 10, 11. I was barely 12 years old, maybe like 12 years old, into 13 when I did my first WAEC, because some of these things happen in September, some of these exams and so on. Anyway, so I couldn't make the WAEC. I had maybe like five P's, 1A3, 1C6, or 266, or something like that sort. And then I had this F9 in economics, which I ended up studying. So I had to
Study.
redo. I
Wow.
was really young. I was really young. I used to hang out with a couple of guys. We were artists. So we used to use all our paper to just draw cartoons. So they were much better than me. There's a guy called Enejo. Enejo, what's his name now? I think it's from Kogi State. Yes, his dad was in customs. And another guy called Jefta Orok. So it was those three of us always drawing stuff. So I was my brother, myself, and my elder brother ended up we were now at par, in the same Form 2
Class.
when we moved to Army Comprehensive. But by the time he did his first work, he made his papers and moved on. And I had to do it again one more time, and then I now did the jam. I didn't do jam the first time. I did the jam, and I then went to Ondo State University in Ado Ekiti, then now called maybe Ekiti State University.
Like
That's changed names so many
AKSU.
times. So now the point also is that it wasn't until I got into Ekiti State University before my brain started opening up. So from an average student, I became pretty smart. I don't know. I think it was just age and so on. Because I remember, when people were checking their results in from year one first semester, after year one first semester, I think that was second semester, people were going to check their results on the board. Me, I didn't even know what was happening. I was just, moving
You don't know you
around
have to
and
take the
stuff. And
result.
then we now went there. I was 16. I was barely 16 when I got into university. And then people were checking. Our grade point average is like UI. They use the UI one up to
Yeah.
7, grade point average. So guys are checking. Oh, I had 3 point this, I had 2 point this, and so on. And I went and checked. It was like 5 points something, middle 5 points. And someone said, this your results to be the best in the class. I said, who am I? It was when I started scoring A's in maths, those generic courses, A's in English, A's in many of the courses. I ended up just maintaining that average throughout I think that consistency could be said. I had only one C going through university, one course that I never liked from beginning. I think I
So it
never
wouldn't.
still
So
liked it.
it
In fact,
wouldn't.
the
It
truth
wouldn't
is
be. It wouldn't
that
be.
course
It wouldn't be
that
out of. It wouldn't be a mistake to say, hey, Tucker was an outstanding student back in the day.
well, if you judge before, because I actually had the best result in the school, you could say I was an outstanding. I don't think I was particularly outstanding. I never actually tried to even make a first class. I made a very top 2-1. Nobody made a first class in my set in 1991. Some of those universities are like that in those days. But I think I've actually improved more as a scholar since I left university. Because I've always tried to broaden my scope, read very wide, and I realized that in most topics these days, I always have something profound to say. I could take questions randomly and still make sense, about many topics, not all, at least within a certain limit. Yeah.
So now let's say this. What was your, apart from your academics, what was the home like? Dad and mom, what were they like? Were they in the class of the MK or Abiola, the DA Rocha of
And the who again?
The DA Rocha, the Da
MK
Rochas,
Abiola.
the
Oh,
MK
the Arusha.
Abiola,
Okay.
the Akaba Shorun.
For where, for where, but I must say that my dad actually took over from MK Abiola when he left Loot as the accountant of
Okay,
Loot. He was deputy to MKO. Of course, he never got anywhere near as rich as MKO. We buried him last week.
I saw
He's
it.
late now as well. And so, in terms of money, no way, man. We're nowhere near that. As a matter of fact, see, my dad um, was an accountant, you know, in his days, and but at some point he went into business
Okay.
and formed this what's it called, a construction company of his own. However, he got owed so much in the FHA days in 1979, and when the I think when in 1983, when these guys came, the soldiers came. A lot of those loans got, I mean, a lot of those invoices got stuck. Till he died, he never
Mm-hmm.
got the money. So I saw him, head way down because you could say I was kind of close to him, because at least while I was home until I left university, I was his major domo. I was the guy who, because by then my brother had gone to move to Jos to continue his studies. So I was actually the guy around him most of the time. So I saw how that actually brought him down financially. So yeah, it was tough getting through university. As a matter of fact, it was very tough. Oftentimes, I was usually delayed before I got back to school every semester, at least 6 out of 8 semesters was like that.
Delayed in terms of not
In
able
terms of
to get
my
the fee on
fees,
time to go to
yeah,
school or what.
and the fees were small, oh, but the old man was having a lot of issues. So the fees were small, but I had to wait at home to get it and then
Until
head
something
because it's
comes
just
up.
from Akorede to yes. So when I get to university, then I get to school, I'll then copy my notes by hand. There's nothing like going making photocopies. Maybe by copying by hand, I just learned, and then I'll still do very really well in the exams and still top the class. So people, I'm sure they must have thought I was a freak.
So I would say let's just reach the conclusion that you grew up in an average family environment,
Yes,
but
yeah, I grew well.
not really down.
I started out. Wait, I started out as an Ajabota, but the Ajabota became Ajapaki after a while, man. So
After the military
I've
guys took
seen
over, right?
seen the best of both worlds. Yes, something like that. You know.
I think it's just pathetic. I think, but one thing we also have to one thing that actually caught my attention about you is not your resume. I just got your resume. I just got it about 2 weeks. Even no matter how brief you you crafted it and sent it when I requested for it, and I made a comment. I said, I must tell you that this is really really humbling.
Ah,
I just have to put it out there. Now let's go back to Will. I wanted to touch every topic. I know you're this kind of very versatile character, but I wanted to touch every topic that we have on ground today. We'll talk about youth and corruption. Do you subscribe to the impression that you'd get involved in corruption because of the economic situation or the governmental policy or what?
yes, it's a historic issue. I think there'll be several things, and also I think there's a clash of culture. So you could say it's historical, it's sociological in a way. So let me look at it from the cultural perspective. So a number of our
Cultural
cultures,
perspective, right?
yes, a number of our cultures are very aspirational. For example, the Yoruba culture is quite aspirational. We want the good things. Even the prayers, if you went and you were prayed for by traditional people, for example, or you went back to your village and they pray for you, they will pray for your prosperity. They want to see you do well. They want you to get the good things of life, buy a car. They may not pray for you to bring a car directly, but they'll pray that you prosper. They talk about oral, they talk about
Yeah.
wealth, talk about children and all of that. And well, then you now superimpose that with a world where we live in, where, as a matter of fact, the truth is that the economics of the world that we live in general, does not permit majority of people to do well. Even in the US, in the UK, the best that the one most people to achieve is to get a 9 to 5, get a job or two jobs,
To be
and
able to
work
eat.
those two jobs and just feed yourself. So, but you see, we are very aspirational. The average African wants not only to, and the average Nigerian, I mean, not only to do well financially, he wants to secure his future solidly and the future of his children. He also wants to get involved even in the politics of the land. He wants
Yeah.
to be recognized. He wants a chieftaincy title. Right. That is Yoruba culture. Igbo culture is even more aspirational. In times past, I think they reduced some of those things now, but in times past, even your dad, you go back to the village, he tells you, look, Emeka just brought a V boot. Which, what are you doing in that Lagos? You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So it's a very
Yeah.
aspiration. Of course, equally in Igbo land, you want to get a chieftaincy title, you would want to build a massive house in the village, you want to show that you are there. So now these are not they're not compatible with the extant economic systems of the world. So in a way, if you look at the books of Cipra and Equency, we talked about
Okay.
there was a first generation of oh no, it was not even Cipra and Equency, it was even Chino Achebe himself.
Chebe.
The sequel to Things Fall Apart was about Okonkwo's son and the challenges he had when he came to Lagos. He went to school abroad, came back, then came back to Lagos, was working in the civil service. He had to, take one or two bribes, and whatever happened. So you could see that there was a culture clash from the traditional society to the modern society,
Slightly.
and what the modern society allows us to do. In the north of Nigeria, it wasn't so much like that. But of recent, given the opportunities that many of them have had, for example, in the public service, they've also taken their opportunities to acquire. That's on the sociological end of things. But also in terms of, historically, how things have evolved. So unfortunately for us, we had a truncation of our politics in 1961, or when was that? 1965, 66. 1965, 66, there was a truncation of a very nascent, a very, if you like, very, a toddler democracy as at that time. We were running, unitary, the parliamentary system and all of that. And Abubakar Tafawa Balewa was killed in that gruesome manner.
Mm-hmm.
Equally taken was Sadauna, Adekunle Fajuyi, Ibrahim Taiwo, and a number of people.
People like
And,
that. Yeah.
the nation never quite recovered from that. Yeah, the nation did not recover from that, excuse me. So now what happened was that then we lost faith in the country. Now, in losing faith in the country, a lot of narratives took over, part of which is that everybody is on their own. We're not together. There was mutual suspicion, which had been brewing in the background. So who would take over Nigeria? Is it the Igbos who used to actually be quite dominant in the early 60s and late
Everything.
50s? Remember, and in Joku, Professor, what's this man's name that was the first VC in UI and so on. So they were quite prominent. But the other kind
Kenneth,
of
is it Kenneth DK?
EK, yes, yes. So
Kenneth
and
DK,
the
yeah.
others started revolting. Remember the words of Sadana of Sokoto when he said, "Oh, these people they take over everything, and now we're going to ensure that if we won't give them opportunity." And in the same country, and these are things that were like stabs. And let me say that very quickly, it came from every angle. So it's not a case of the outsiders were the ones doing this. It was
Or the
everybody against everybody
body.
saying bad things. If you listen to Akintola and the things he said about the Igbos as well, and if you listen to Daddy Onyema, the father of this new minister, minister
Oh,
of Daddy Onyema, I think is the father to Geoffrey Onyema. What he
Jeffrey
said
Onyema,
about
yeah.
the Igbos dominating as well, including Nandi Azikwe. So we had all of this. So historical, I think this is what may have legitimized in a way or accelerated the corruption. Because a lot of people go in there to steal, and they tell you that stealing on behalf of their tribe, on behalf of their religion, and all of that, So everybody have come with sin and blood dripping off their hands. And
Hmm.
the youth of today have grown up in that same
Same
setting.
manner.
You in seeing all of that. As a matter of fact, as I speak to you today, you know, if you have money, you're recognized in society. That's when you now get the chieftaincy title, you get the comfort, you get the police escorts, you
Yeah.
get the accolades, you get even the national awards. In fact, that's when you even get the appointments from government. Because if you
So it's
see
not
where
so
things
it's
are,
not so it's basically not because you are qualified anymore. It's because you are well in the system, the
got to
society.
worse and
You
worse.
can
As a
afford a
matter of
lot of
fact,
things.
in fact, what's going on now is that if you have been a friend of the house and they have put you in a position and you have delivered, they will reward you more by promoting
Hmm.
you to the next level because this guy delivers. How he delivers, nobody cares. He
Nobody
dips
cares
his
about
hand in
that.
there, dips his hand in there and shares the money. He's a good guy. That's our man. So things have become so personalized and so that's the only example that the youth of today that they have. You go to the National Assembly, the Houses of Assembly, you see a lot of people, they point to you, this guy was a Yahoo guy and all of that, made so much money and all of that. So, what is the faith and what is the hope for a struggling guy who left university or polytechnic and is doing a 9 to 5, earning 20,000 naira? When is he ever going to get to that point? So it's
Get to
become
that
a
point.
class society. It's become a class society where some are condemned to penury, and sometimes they take desperate decisions just to get out of this bondage.
Hmm. That's this is quite expository, and it's I think this I don't think this I conclude this is just a picture that we someone like me grew through. At the stage, I also was thinking about my friends. I read history by accident or by
Mm,
fate. I read history in my bachelor's. I did my master's in history also. So, but the kind of society we grew in. The Nigerian system, if you're not an engineer, back in the days, if you do not read
yeah.
accounting, banking and finance, you're a
Mm,
lawyer, you're a medical doctor, you're an engineer, you are a no in the system. You are a
mm,
no. Nobody recognizes. Even
mm,
girls will tell you, hey, what course do you
mm,
read? You say history,
mm,
they don't want to talk to you because of that. Now, how can we
mm.
cover up for that? We have to make money. How do we make money? No job. That will result into crimes. I think
Yeah.
this is very, very expository. So, Mr. Tope, let me ask you one more question. Why ANPR?
Yeah.
ANRP.
RP.
ANRP.
For
Why
some reason
ANRP?
today, I wasn't even thinking of this interview when I wore this thing out, this t-shirt, and it's been a while. I actually like the t-shirts. In terms of the fit, it's one of the best t-shirts I have. For some reason,
Mm-hmm.
I like t-shirts that hug my bicep. I used to have more. It's reduced a bit now, and one of my best t-shirts. So, well, why that? It's a big question, but it's because we needed to express ourselves one way or the other.
Sorry, let me stop you. Let me stop you. Let me stop you. Let me stop you. I think that was an incomplete question. Why ANRP? When you have what you have is overwhelming in terms of I'm saying this. I've been into universities in the US, so I'm not saying hey, I know what I'm talking about. What you have is overwhelming, what you have is captivating. Why didn't you think of joining the bandwagon of AAPC, of PDP, AMPP? Why did you decide to carve out your own movement?
Well, that was the only way that we would have been heard. And unfortunately, I think that opportunity has now been removed. We removed that ladder for the Nigerian youth and the not so young. Not the youth anymore, for the age of say,
Can you speak a little louder?
yes,
It's
can
going
you hear
down.
me now?
The
Okay.
volume is dropping.
So I said that like I'm not a youth, I'm Portuguese, but that was the only way we could have that's the only way we could have actually expressed ourselves at that time, and it was a golden opportunity. You see, we looked at the terrain and realized that look. There's a long queue in APC and PDP. Wanted
Hmm.
to become anything there, if you have a lot of time and money, yeah, you can join the queue for another 12 years or 16 years or you are recognized. But if you add 16 years to my age now, look, by 60 years old, I hope to have retired entirely from any work.
Hmm.
Why would I be then? Look, and then again, public service is a lot of suffering if you really want to do it right. You know, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of suffering, it's a lot of sacrifice. So the service I want to do, if I'm 55 max, okay, fine. But by the time I'm 60, 65, what's the point? I want to do community service at that point, not be gunning for political office. So now let me also let you know this. People don't know. Go and try and join APC or PDP and see how very easy it is. It's such a difficult task. First of all, these parties, going by the constitution that set them up, and their interpretation of INEC laws will ask you to go to your ward in your village. Now, the point is this. If you're working in Port Harcourt in the oil sector, and your village is in Kotangora in Niger State, why do you have to go back to that
Go
village
back.
to register as a member of a party in some ward where you probably will not be when the next election is taking place? So you now go to that village because they have a village mentality. Now, you don't have to do your election from the village. Not necessarily in an internet age, an age where electronic, platforms are taking over everywhere. Anyway, by the time you get to that village, you manage to get to the ward, and you get the ward secretary and ward chairman who would have collected money from you.
You.
They open a certain register, some weather beating register, and then they will say, okay, you know what? You want to join as a new member, or do you want us to backdate for you? Of course, all of these things cost money. If they open maybe back to about 18 months, because they know that there are some times that they disqualify people at the level of nomination and primaries, because they
Yeah.
will disqualify people and say, well, he just joined. They almost disqualified the person that he was
Yeah.
just joining PDP. All right. So they will now tell you, okay, you know what? But we can help you backdate it 18 months back. So you see, then we open that register back to 18 months. They will usually leave some blank spaces inside that register
Where they can
where they
fix.
can insert your name. Exactly. So look, who has time for all of that? Anyhow, the point now is that ANLP, we set it up at that time, taking an opportunity to say, guys, look, if you have a burning ambition, if you have a burning desire to serve your nation, if you have a burning desire to upset the apple cart, if you have a burning desire to have your voice heard, if you have a burning desire to try and reposition Nigeria with your ideas, come and join us. And in joining us, number one, we're not going to make it tough for you. Go and join online, and you will see your name in the register. And then we also, I personally encourage people to go for political offices because it's your money you will spend. There's nothing like we didn't have money to spend for anybody. Spend your own money, go for political offices because we have realized that by running for political offices is how we propagate the name of the party. So
Yes.
if somebody wants to run for House of Assembly in a certain state, you probably would have a budget or raise about 2 million. At our level, when we don't have money, even if it's like a near 1 million or 2 million, you're going to print posters. By the time you print
Mm-hmm.
posters and put the people will say, which one is ANRP? Computer party. Which one is this computer they have in their logo and all of that?
Yeah.
That is how we can propagate the name of the party. All right. So that's the reason why we did not go to say, okay, listen, let's if we can't beat them, let's join them. Let's go and join the old party. Look, Einstein said you cannot solve the problem of today using the same tools and the
No.
same problems that created the problem. So you cannot solve the problem of today using the same. Nigeria will never, I'm sorry, not the cost. Nigeria will never make progress with the politics of APC. It will never happen because they are also the cause of the problem. You
The
look at
problem.
those states today. You see, Obaseki has run to PDP. Yamu has run to APC. Same as Shomole that says that Yamu was a cultist, he's a thief, he has EFCC cases, and of course he still does. Now says, no, 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 guys, don't worry, believe me.
Those
Yamu
are
is good.
political statements. They said those are political statements.
On one hand, the point is that the people in the two parties are the same. So there's one party in Nigeria. When people say, oh yeah, we should have two parties in Nigeria, I say, yes, okay, I agree with you. It would be great to have two parties, but those two parties should not be APC or PDP because you
Hmm.
cannot put them on any divide. If you want to have two parties, you go to the UK, you see the Conservatives and the Labour, for example. You go to United States, you see the Republicans and the Democrats. The
Democrat.
Democrat thinking and the Democrat ideology is clearly different from the Republican ideology. What is the ideology of PDP and APC? You can't tell them apart. After all, anybody can
They're
wake
the
up in the
same. The same people
and,
formed.
and go to the other. Exactly. So look, we will. I personally felt we should not be part of that confusion because if on Judgment Day, if the whistle goes today and they say everybody should account for their deeds, the point to me that do you want to be caught among those who were just all about expediency? Expediency, they just went for what was convenient and they didn't mind that the moment they go in there, the moment you go in there, even if you are lucky to win, you will practice the same corruption policies that they have been practicing. You cannot do anything different because the way you got into office matters. The way you win political posts also matters. So we went in there. Unfortunately, today, um, the government of today, they leaned on INEC and got them to take the licenses of about 74. But look, it's a relief of a burden, if you ask me, even though my party were in court separately on our own and our case was adjourned to October 18 or thereabouts. We're going to see it to a logical conclusion before we give up.
Okay.
Clearly, all that has happened is bullying. And I must tell the Nigerian youth that number one, it will be hard for the Nigerian youth or the young people and the not so privileged to get the kind of opportunity that we got in 2019
Team.
because they are making it incredibly more difficult for average people to come together and form a party. The way it's going now, even the deposit that they will collect from you to form a party, I think they are increasing it by a factor of 10 from 1 million to 10 million, meaning that
Million.
the kind of thing they will ask from you, if you don't go and bring one, money bag, you can't get even that political party formed. In which
Hmm.
case INEC has only succeeded, but prodded by APC government and Mr. Buhari, who purports to be an anti-corruption person, that we have only just instituted corruption-driven politics proper in Nigeria because of the intolerance of the ideas of younger people.
Hmm. So that's very deep because I knew I was just thinking about ANPR and all these other new parties that sprang up as a result of the let me say in the heave of the 2019 election. I know that you, your friend Yele Showore, we're coming to Showore too. We'll touch Showore briefly before we end the program. And how large, what was the coverage of ANPR when it was here? Because I know the money backup wasn't there, but intelligence is there.
Yes,
Then the African democracy and politics really don't care about how intelligent you are.
exactly. No, you see, listen,
That's not a disregard.
unfortunately,
It's just a fact.
no, but it's true. But well, it's true. You see, but actually, we needed to put that on ground to test how bad that was, right? If we hadn't, we wouldn't have known how bad that situation was. I mean, I went to about 32 states. I remember being in Uyo, inside the market in Uyo, and it was all about, okay, waiting you bring. If you don't give us money, we won't even listen to you. Not to talk of being in the north. I remember being in Katsina and the mob will almost break the windscreen of your car because they were just rushing for money. And if they felt there was money somewhere, it's
That
like
you
hyenas,
brought to them.
smelling blood, So, so all over the country, we saw clearly that, look, it was about how much you had. I did one of the most intense campaigns, actually. I did one of the most intense campaigns, I must say, among many of because I went to some interlands that it was clear that look, many people couldn't get to this point who were also campaigning. I was the only one who probably went even to the Boko Haram territory as at that time, moving between Maiduguri and Damaturu, Yobe State, passing through some of the Boko Haram areas like Beni Sheikh, like Makinta Kururi, and so on and so forth. I just passed through. I came back same day. But I needed that experience to know exactly what that terrain was like.
Did you fly? Did you fly an
Getting
helicopter or you drove?
for where I flew a commercial helicopter, I mean commercial plane into
Plane.
Maiduguri and then
Maiduguri.
and went to Maiduguri by road and came back by commercial transport,
Flight.
just disguised and so on. You don't have to bring attention to yourself. You dress like them. But I needed that experience. I need to be able to speak about such thing today, and I'm able to speak about such thing today. Um, so yes, we learned firsthand that look, it was all about the Benjamins. It was all about the money that you could spend, and that even the Nigerians that you are fighting for, most of them don't actually care because unfortunately they've been so damaged, sometimes generationally damaged. You can see I posted something on my Facebook recently, the picture of a woman fetching water from a wall.
I saw it.
Uh, yeah, I know, from a wall. Um, and the well, I mean, sorry, the well had actually really eroded entirely. The entire place was
That
washed
was
away
that
with
was that was
gully.
that was not erosion. That was a ditch. That was a pit.
She didn't mind if she fell in there, and if she had fallen in there,
And people
she would
even
have
stood. People
she would
even
have
stood
died.
near. People even stood near watching.
Yeah, even children. Yeah, and so that's the nature of the Nigerian. Damaged, with very little self-worth, and ready to mortgage the rest of their life for almost nothing. You get so that's basically that's the scenario. So yes, that we needed to do what we had to do. Unfortunately, Nigeria young people will hardly find that kind of opportunity anymore. So we knew, but look, we also wanted to leverage and see and test. Perhaps intelligence could work. That's why look, we try to get on debate. See what happened with the first debate. The main debate that would have been a showcase, the one that comes on channels, between the chairman of channels, John Momo, who was then chairman of Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria, we heard, and a few elements in that BON. They
Yes.
decided to exclude people like we. There was no criteria.
I know
They
they
didn't make
excluded you. They excluded Showore. They excluded a couple of other folks.
plain the criteria with which they chose people. So they went and built that debate around Buhari and Atiku, who ended up disappointing them. And then you now had three people, Obieze Kwesili, Mogalu, and Fela, doing now in 2011 or 2015 rather, when this Buhari government was coming in under Jonathan, there were uh, 11 people who debated, five in the first stream, six in the second stream. So just look at that for transparency, inclusiveness, and tolerance. Okay. So in the next set, only three people. The parties were more in 2019. The number of Nigerians had increased. The agitations were more. All you could
No.
have done is let Nigerians express themselves. But between BON then and whoever it was, and unfortunately Channels TV conspired and excluded and shut down the space. But luckily, in the one organized by TVC, people like us got to go out on the interview and all the debate panels. And of course, I went to so many other Silverbird, um, CDD. They did about one or two that I was on and all of that. I did about 11, 12, 13, 15 debates around trying to propagate the ideas, what I call the revolution of ideas. That was the logo of my campaign, try to push a lot of these ideas out. But of course, Nigeria is not ready for ideas. I don't know when Nigerians will be ready for ideas to actually move the needle. As it is, it's money for hand, back for ground, waiting you bring. And let me tell you about the waiting you bring. You have to be ready to spend the money right into the elections, into the
Hmm.
election day. So it's not a case of, okay, I have money, I went there, I give them. Look, there were people who spent 500 million and got 20,000 votes. People who spent 300 million and got 10,000 votes.
So
There were
it's
people who
how
spent
much
a
you get.
lot more
It's how,
than
it's
that.
actually the politics is actually
You
about vote
must
buying.
spend, you
I
must
said the
spend the
politics is
money
about vote
into the
buying.
absolute. See, the way it works is this: on election eve, you would have positioned your people, and every polling booth, you must have an allocation for them. Now, how many polling booths can someone like me have an allocation for? Even if it was in my local government alone, how much you want to give? Can I give 200,000 per polling booth and get someone there that say, okay, listen, when they come, give them. Oh, I want, if I even if I wanted to win my ward, and then there are maybe polling booths in the ward, then I'll give them 500,000 and say, okay, go and start giving people. And sometimes they will even eat your money and vote. They are the people who have always been giving them money. So there's also another thing about, oh, APC has been giving us money since. That is where we belong to. Who is this one? Let's chop his money. The Boko Sebe in Ondo State happened between APC and PDP. So you are coming as an outsider. They can decide to do anything. That, mind you, that when we were forming these parties, we were saying, oh, we want to form a party where members can contribute, where there will be no godfather, where nobody will dominate. That's what we were thinking. It was so illusional. The moment you form a party, people see you as, oh, chairman, this guy has all the money.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody queues up to eat from you. If you don't give them, they make you an enemy. They start to talk bad about you. And then, everything collapses. Nigerians are not ready they would even tell you, some of the people meant that, why are you asking me for dues? Even a dues that will collapse to 3,000 naira per annum.
Hmm.
That, why are you asking me? In APC and PDP, where I'm coming from, nobody asked me to pay any money.
For
Which kind
you.
of party is yours? You people are hungry people. We don't have time for it. Meanwhile, we saw pictures in 1950, 1951, Action Group paying 10 shillings for
Yes, now.
membership. We've seen some of
Yeah.
those pictures on. So you ask yourself, what happened to Nigerians? Because it seems that Nigerians have devalued in worth. I don't know how to explain it, but that's it. If Nigerians don't believe that they need to invest in their own country, and everybody is just so hungry and looking for what to get from the next person, what to get from the country, then we have a problem.
Do you think because from every facet of the Nigerian life, the Nigerian has lost value in Nigeria, not the country. In Nigerian has lost value. Number one, we've lost self-worth. Number two, do you think this is actually a conscious game plan by the political actors to keep the majority of Nigerian perpetually downtrodden? Do you think by
Well,
maybe with
it's
your with your incursion into the political arena, do you think that could be a factual statement?
sometimes I feel that way. In fact, sometimes I feel, even though I'm not particularly, I won't say I'm particularly a spiritual person, but sometimes I
Mm-hmm.
feel that those who manage to get to positions of leadership have signed a pact with the devil that this country should never amount to anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think also that if we scale that down a little bit, we may say, okay, fine, human nature kicks in. Everything is about self preservation. And in talking about self-preservation, um, when a politician wants to get there, just okay, let me say this right. So somehow the political system we have created sort of pushes up what Awolowo used to call the jetsam and flotsam of society. Now, the
Say it
concept of
again.
the
Say it
jetsam
again.
and flotsam in
Okay.
the jetsam and flotsams and jetsam of society. It came from shipping technology, old shipping technology. In those ships that used to use sailing sails to move, okay,
Yeah.
uh, when water is getting inside the ship, they start to pack water out. The ship is sinking. Then they start to offload, all sort of anything that is
Everything.
irrelevant.
Throw it.
They start to offload it from the most irrelevant, and then after a while the boat is still sinking. They look for
Hmm.
which useless human being that should be thrown overboard. Unfortunately, those are the jetsam and float. Unfortunately for us, is those jetsams and flotsams that are most well positioned in our country to get to leadership positions. That's why you see a lot of people with forged certificates.
Hmm.
You see a lot of people who say they went to school, they didn't go to school.
Go.
You see a lot of people who have patched their way around. You see a lot of people who are the real criminals. You see a lot of people who are looking to launder their money or whatever wealth it is they have. That's the kind of people you see running for government in society. Now, if those kind of people manage to get into government, and in fact, that is what happens, then what kind of laws will they make for society? They can only make laws that continue to perpetuate,
The
where they
evil.
are as a people. They can only make laws that will make society worse. They can only make laws that will continue to enslave the society. Unfortunately, there seems to be an ethos among those kind of people. They are Machiavellians. They love power. They've seen it at work. They've
Yeah.
seen you people with your PhD and all of that you will grovel in front of them, say, "Oh God, please just give me something. Let me go and eat." So they max out. They want to show you. In fact, sometimes some of the guys that went to university, the ones that did woefully in university, want to show you that, hey, maybe you guys used to laugh at me that I didn't know anything. Now I go into
Yeah.
politics, I'll become your leader. Yeah. So those of you that made first class, let's see how far. That's exactly what's going on. And then by the time so many of such people are getting into government positions, what will happen is it's Nigeria. What will happen in a scenario where leadership becomes toxic towards the people that are being led?
Yeah.
That leadership becomes something that hurts everybody. For example,
Good.
now, when the COVID season, crude oil price fell, Nigeria is not getting money. Economic activity has collapsed. But you see governors buying Range Rovers, maybe
Over.
for judges, for whatever, for their friends, for 70 million a pop. You see these people in NDDC
And did
rather,
you see?
sharing 1.5 billion COVID allowance, spending 81 billion in 3 months or 4 months. You see all of these things going on in society, even in the federal government. You see all sort of nonsense going on. So that tells you the government governance in Nigeria is not about the people. I shared something which is very profound the other day on my Facebook. A certain, I don't know who wrote it, but the person happens to live in America, and he was talking about when his nephew relocated to America, and wanted to get into school. So in getting into school, the first thing is you have to go and register at the school nearest to the where your parent or your guardian pays taxes.
Leave.
So
Yeah.
you can see that they have tied the tax payment to that school's education. Then the
Yeah.
Department of Education would have a hand in it. Then Department of Education, then Department of Health wants to know about that child. The Department of Transport wants to know where to pick up that child to drop
Child.
him in that school. You can see the
Yeah.
different. Now you could see that all the departments of government were keyed into taking care of this
Even
person, and therefore government is built around the people.
even if you buy a house, they look at the school district.
Exactly.
So
So you could
everything is
see, and
tied.
it occurred to me that this is exactly where what the problem is. In Nigeria, I've always had this argument with a lot of my friends, many of them liberal economists, and they will tell you about privatization, entrepreneurship. I say, which entrepreneurship? We are here deceiving ourselves that we're doing entrepreneurship. It's a joke. We look, the public service is the fulcrum, the basis, the foundation of any enterprise, because you cannot do any entrepreneurship when you are unsafe, when you are not sure
Hmm.
who's going to barge into your shop, into your factory. When you are unsafe, you are dodging around for armed robbers and kidnappers and all of that. Which work are you doing? How much production are we doing in Nigeria? Is it not mostly buying and selling, and you call
I'm
yourself
telling.
an
And
entrepreneur?
eating.
And not. So I always tell them that no, we have to go back to service and public service. And that is how we're going to add, show that our human beings living in Nigeria, we have value. Now we haven't shown that we value the lives of the average person living in this country. We haven't shown that enough. The best you can do is those of us who are lucky to be middle class, we sequester ourselves in our guarded estates, in our walled estates. We live in prisons. We're afraid to
Hmm.
go out to even get air, that kind of stuff. And that's what you see. So we have to go back and rethink the way we run our society, and we run governance in this place.
Thank you so much for that. Uh, Let me ask you this quick question before I let you go. I know that in the days of Showore's incarceration, before I get on there, it's gonna be a long one.
Mm.
You guys were about 5, 6. I remember you, the Buhari guy from Niger State, right? Um, Showore.
Who would that be? Buhari guy from
Is that
who's
is
the
that
Buhari
Shew?
guy from Niger State?
One. There's a middle belt and that was
Okay, that
to
chap.
contest.
Yeah. Buhari. Yeah.
Buhari, that's
Mm,
his name. That contested
that's his
for.
guy. Yeah.
That also
Mm,
was
yeah.
interested in running for the presidency. We all thought that you guys were coming
Exactly.
together, and this is your friend too. um the speaker guy.
Speaker?
Yeah, the motivational
Which
speaker.
speaker is that?
Motivational speaker.
Fela, yeah, Fela. Mm.
Fela, yeah, you Fela. We all thought you guys were coming together to form a coalition to present a candidate. So what went wrong? Why did because I thought that was actually where that wasn't the problem. That wasn't the youth problem at that stage. But I think that because
No,
an average Nigerian youth want to get the money from you, which they were not going to get from any of you guys. But why didn't we
yeah,
have
you know, anyhow, the point is that,
why didn't we have a united front to present one of you
brother,
all to contest with that?
it's the most difficult thing to unite in politics, right? Because you have power and potentially money on the table. We did
Yeah.
try. However, one of the things that happened when we were trying, I actually made it clear that guys, the only thing that will make this fly is absolute transparency, like never before seen in Nigeria. Is the only reason why this will fly. If we were not showing that transparency, we're deceiving ourselves. We formed something called pact. I was invited actually.
Facts.
That pact meant presidential aspirants coming together. We were still aspirants at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And, when we got there were like maybe at the max, there were about 12 of us. In fact, there was one chap called Akali. That Akali guy was from APC. And, I saw him there and I was like, guy, you're from APC. And you know that this meeting is meant to be for, we said that anybody that wins here, everybody else steps down. What are you trying to do? If you are defeated there, are you going to tell Buhari to step down? Because you are in APC.
Uh-huh.
And maybe I don't know what his mission was. However, also there were people who were meeting behind, and some were doing deals behind. So I felt that the numbers were too small. Showore attended the meeting for just once. When somebody was talking about what word did they use then? Was it coalition or merger? Showore said, "Listen, guys, I don't want to hear that word." And every time somebody talks about that, I'm out because there's been so many deceptions. So he stopped coming. I also
Hmm.
attended one more meeting after which I stopped going because I knew that it was not going to fly. Because I told them that guys, the only way this will fly is that even our meetings should be on Facebook Live. Let us have the election before the election. Let the youth of
Everything open.
Nigeria vote. Exactly. Let the youth of Nigeria vote for who will win here. And some of the guys were telling me, don't worry, don't worry. We just do it amongst ourselves. We do it among ourselves. I said, how many? Listen, I'm an economic statistician. If you don't have enough population, you're going to have bias.
Yeah.
If you don't have, you want to select, even if we are selecting randomly from a small population, and you had three red balls inside a basket of 12 different colors of red balls, you're likely going to pick that's 3 over 12. The
Rebel.
other ones have 1 over 12. I said, this is not going to fly except you guys. So I stopped going there. Unlike, someone like Mogalu decided to go to the tail end of it, and you saw what the result was. Fela 4, Mogalu 3. In fact, immediately that happened, some of them reached out to me and said, Tope, yeah, let's support this. I said, no, I don't see how we're going to drop Mogalu at this point. I think guy has so much to offer this country. And I also felt that, look, guys, I also advised them that as at the time we were meeting, there were more than 50 people in the space who were aspiring for this same position. I said, you're only 12 here. No matter the decision you take here, if you don't reach out to those people and drag them in, those ones will say, well, we don't know what those guys were talking about. We're not part of it. You just end up eliminating yourselves. So imagine, they call yourselves superstars, Fela, Shore, Mogalu, and Co. You come and take yourselves out. You say, oh, one person has won out of all of you. But then you begin to hear of all sorts of people. We didn't know about people like YY Sani, who showed a very good, strong showing in ADP. Obadiah Melafia, who was in ABC. All of those people were in there. Even if
Hmm.
Kwesili came and did umpire for the one where Fela won, only for her to change her mind and decide to
And
contest on the
theft.
platform of ACPN or whatever it is
ACPA, I
called.
know.
And only by the time she now contested, she said wanted to contest, took somebody's position in the debate that I mentioned earlier, and then decided a couple of days later that she's not running again. My brother, when you are talking about power, you see human beings in action. It's tough. So forget it. I think Nigerian youths are naive to expect that, we just come together in a jolly manner and everything will be
And
okay
we all take
over
it, just take it
drinks
like,
with
okay, let's
Shepa.
go ahead and take it. Like it's there for us.
Part of the naivety that's worrying Nigerian youth, which Nigerian youth have to cure themselves. First of all,
Mm.
get involved, but know that in fact you cannot, even your best friend, you may not be able to trust them in
At that
politics.
point.
That's one of the lessons. Yeah. So forget about it. It's not gonna work, except we can find you and agree to a total transparency never before. Unfortunately, that transparency is not, in my view, in the Nigerian DNA. It's not something we're used to. It's not something we've done before, and I'm not sure it's something we're ready to do anytime soon.
So so that's thank me. I
That's
have
that's
one.
why
Go
that's
ahead.
why that's why later on you see that I kind of supported Shoret's revolution. I don't know how much velocity is going to be able to gather. I don't know when it's the first time. Of course, he didn't call me before he went all out. People say, "Oh, he should have let us know. Look at him. He went." I said, "Listen, number one, when you want to take a risk like that, a decent person will not start to call his friend and say, "Oh, come on, I want to form a revolution. Or I'm doing
Yeah,
this thing." Or, no, if you hear outside and you like it, you join it.
that's
But I
how you
think it's
do.
this. If I was the one running that revolution, I also won't call people because it's risk. And apart from that, by the time you start to call around, that's you don't know who will betray you and go and tell government and say, look at this guy wants to do revolution. Of course, he was held for so many days and for some months. But I showed a certain level of support for it because I also believe that we must do everything to reposition this country, including shaking up government a little bit and letting them know that look, where we are is not right. And we'll not
Hmm.
only do this just by blowing grammar. For those who can go on the streets and do peaceful
Protest.
demonstration, protest, they should be allowed. Protest is part of it. The black man will not be where he is today if people like Martin Luther King and co did not protest. Sometimes people will infiltrate the protest and all of that, but I think it's also a very integral part, especially given what looks by now. If Nigerians were normal, we should be protesting over all of these things we are hearing.
Yeah.
NDDC, EFCC, all of this thing, everybody stealing money left, right, and center. The money they can't even spend it anymore. All right, so that's the kind of thing that's the kind of situation we find ourselves.
And let me end it on this note. Let me end it on this note. From the home front on this state. You're from Akure.
Yeah,
I just I just spoke with the Honorable Tomide Akin Ribido, one of the suspended. I don't know if you're informed or you're aware of
suspended.
the development in the House of Assembly and the state ruling party, where the deputy governor defected to another
Hmm.
political party, and there has been moves to impeach him or get him out of the equation. And so I just spoke. What's as much as you're informed about the development in the state, what's your about the suspension, about the economy of the state, about the politics of the state? What do you think about that? What's your opinion, your impression?
Let me start by saying that look, there's a reason I've never actually bothered to. I've not been excited about contesting at state level, right? I believe that to an extent, it's not possible for one state to transform itself in Nigeria successfully because there's nothing debarring people from other states from flocking into that space
State.
and spoiling the work that whichever governor is doing. Number one. Number two, there's no governor in Nigeria since 1999 to date that has governed successfully and not been cursed, blamed, ostracized by their people when their tenures are over. Many of them can't even live in their state anymore. It's look, if you want to get famous and you want to make money, go and contest for governor. Look at even Akorede. Just wait until he finishes. Even if he wins, even if he doesn't win this one, you will hear what people will say about the same marketing. You know what people are saying about Mimiko.
Miko.
There's been none of them. Even Agagu before he died, I heard he tried, he this, that. But you need to know what. Listen, it is at that level that the tire hits the tarmac. All right, and you see Nigerians in their element. If you're not doing well, maybe if you whatever it is you're sharing does not touch them, then you're a bad person. If you do
You're not
road, they
doing
say
well.
is it road you want to eat. Look, I went to those states just last week. passing some of those childcare orange buildings that Mimico built, all of them abandoned since 4 5 years or
Mimicry.
4 years ago. Yes, imagine the investment in all those childcare hospitals and everything abandoned. Many schools built abandoned because it doesn't fit into the program of the next person. All right. So all of this, I'm sorry, most of these guys, including on those state and those state, all of what I just see is okay, politicians fighting for raw power for raw money, no ideology, no intention to do right by the people, you know, no ideas out of the box. It can't be more than okay, what do we do with our fact when it comes from Abuja, right? It's everyone's so distracted. In Ondo State, unfortunately, I heard that Ketty wasn't feeling very fine for a while. That may have affected the way he has governed. And of course, he has his own baggages. I've seen him speak in public places, and I think he goes off a bit. He gets very angry easily. Even I saw that from his first set of debates in 2016 or thereabouts. Yeah, I saw that he's someone that flares up a lot. So and also maybe his energy level was affected by his illnesses and so on. The only way you can make an impact a bit is to be like someone like Fashola was in Lagos State, so energetic all over the place, knowing the state inside out,
And a
and look
little
at
ruthless.
Fashola himself, and ruthless, and well, look at him at the end of the day. Even his legacy is messed up.
Yeah.
Some people have just sent a petition to EFCC now, listing how himself and Tinubu shared properties, including Lagos University, Laspo Tech Universities, which is now TVC headquarters in Oregon, or where is that again? Yeah, opposite 7 Up, and so on. So where do we start? You see, so the Agbola has done his own. I think he played himself out. Unfortunately, he probably has to try another day. I heard he's running to ZLP. It's not likely that ZLP will win that state governorship. Maybe he wants to just be, maybe be a spoiler for Aketi and Jagede. I hope Jagede wins. He looks like a gentleman, but sometimes I think he's too gentle to run the state. He's too much of a refined human being. But even if Aketi wins, Aketi must perform magic in the next 4 years. So in that, I don't think I have a horse in that race, really. I don't think I have a horse. Look, apart from Akure, which I think is a fairly neat city, was neater under Mimiko, is not as neat right now.
I was there.
Although
I was there last year. And the whole Ondo State is.
Ondo City, when I went to Ondo City a few months back, I didn't see what Mimiko did for his people. I'm sorry, apart from maybe the University of Medical Sciences or University of Medicine, whatever. I didn't see what he did in that state, in that town. The whole of Akoko is still in prehistoric times. All right. Unfortunately, I've actually never been to Ilaje and all of those areas. One day I'll brave it and go there. But the other time,
been there the recent time, but I used to go.
Wait, they had to go. They had to block Ore. Some of the youth had to block Ore in the express because some of them say for 6 years they had not seen electricity. Electricity has not as much as flashed in many parts of Akoko for the past 4 years. No electricity. Where do we start? We need a rethinking. And I think I wrote something short on my Facebook recently. I said, look, a lot of us are still thinking in analog fashion. And look at us today. COVID has caught up with us. The face of work has changed. The face of manufacturing has changed. The human interaction has changed. Society, everything has changed. So we're faced with digital problems. We're still thinking in analog fashion. If only I can send people to the farm to go and bring what? Oh, if we can sell agricultural products and bring how many yams or cassava do you want to sell to buy one Toyota Prado? Do you know Nigeria's biggest import is technology as we speak right now? Yeah. Technology, software, hardware. All those banks have to sometimes they have to bring people from abroad to come and help them install software and maintain software. Then technology.
When we have computer science and computer engineers trained in Nigerian universities.
To know exactly. Look, I even had a radical idea during my campaign. I said, guys, time has gone so far ahead of us. We can't even wait for our students to finish from universities anymore. All these engineering students, what we need to do is change curriculum. And I set up an NGO for that. Listen, let's change curriculum such that things become very practical. Look, they need to be performing experiments and even failing. And if you don't fail, you cannot understand how to do
Do
things
it.
properly. Right? I said, look, even instead of doing individual projects, that the last project, it should be group projects that will be tangible. So if you're an engineering student, electrical engineering, go to the nearest village, 20 of you, go and power that village using solar technology or wind or whatever it is you can do,
And do
or
something.
mini hydro. Do something. And that is how you're going to light this country up, not by going to Siemens to go and beg them, or running to China to come and help you
Help you
bring
do something. You keep importing.
railroad,
You keep importing the same stuff.
and then you sign off your sovereignty and sign off the rest of the life of your country ad infinitum, because you are looking for money in the interim. So I said, look, if all those students of civil engineering, by now they should be doing the work that FEMA is. In fact, scrap FEMA, this federal road maintenance. Let the
Federal
Nigerian
road maintenance
road
stuff.
maintenance agency give these students, tell Julius Berger to mentor them, or whoever, whichever company. Let them be the ones patching all the roads all over the country as their project. Give them a stipend, all these students, pay them some money. In that way, you can now increase the fees. And in fact, it's going to incentivize. You can now increase the fees that they pay. I say, but you
Yeah,
know that when you come in, you're going to get 50,000 every
thousand.
semester. But instead of paying 10,000 naira to go to UI or 20,000 naira to go to UI, we need at least 150,000. So not everybody will go to university, number one, and secondly, those who go there will be focused, and by the time they are leaving, they will have something on their CV. Okay, and then they will be proud of what they are doing. And they will make mistakes. They'll be practical people. You
Mm-hmm.
see? So, and every course is useful. Do you who study history, you won't believe just how important history is in any people's life. I've figured myself as a historian. I've read a lot of history and all of that. You know, those students who study history should be writing the history of every settlement in Nigeria. And there are tens of thousands of settlements, small
Settlements.
villages, towns. Where's the history of Abuja where I live? You can't find the history of Abuja anywhere in the
Well,
bookshop. We're afraid. There's nobody writing the history of Nigeria because the leaders are afraid that some bad things they did will make it into it. And they're afraid. Lies everywhere. Nigeria is where nothing gets declassified. Lies become sedimented and become into sedimentary
an
rocks in
institution.
Nigeria. All right, so exactly. It becomes an institution in Nigeria. So we have an opportunity. Students of history should be writing those histories. Students of languages should be documenting every language. In Adamawa State alone, there's over almost 150 languages. There are even some that have not been discovered. In the Adamawa Hills, in Taraba and Co., there are villages, there are settlements there are places where people are living in trees. From that point, even on to Cameroon, there are places where people are living in trees. In Gabon, so you have to discover all of those things. Well, we wait for the white man to come and do it.
They want to
And
do
when the
that.
white,
And they tell us they discovered
white
us
man
again.
say how they discovered you exactly, they'll tell you how they discovered in River Niger. And they discovered even, the places where our fathers used to go and bathe
Live.
and all of that.
Where my
But listen,
grandfather found in the
we have the fault is ours. We haven't quite woken up to our responsibility. The fault is ours. We can't blame anybody. But we need a higher level of thinking in leadership. Like I said, our problems are digital. We're still thinking in analog. We're still thinking of going back to regional, Western region. Those are stories of the past. If you want to
Hmm.
regionalize, let's create something digital and different. Look, the youth of this country have not started to think for this country. What you need to do is think for this country. The revolution has to be intellectual, it has to be digital for us to catch up. And something big is coming. Forget this COVID. God forbid that this COVID will be coming every two years. Because I wrote an article recently about population, which many people are not taking serious. They think that it's just limited to, okay, some people are having too many children. The point is that there's a focus on this country. An article came out in the Lancet, that very popular journal, the same
Uh-huh.
one that wrote and said hydroxychloroquine was not working anymore.
Yeah.
It's a sponsored magazine anyway. But the article came and said Nigeria's population will get up to 750 million. I was alarmed. But when I did the math, I realized that indeed it is true. If we come from where we are right now and we
If we
continue,
keep going like this,
and so what are we doing about it? Or we think that the world, the white man will allow us to just continue to grow anyhow. We will do everything, including diseases, including wars, including
yeah,
anything,
to
to
exterminate as
ensure that
many
we
as we
stop
can.
this population. Yeah. So there are big issues that we need to concern ourselves with.
Thank you. This has been a 1 hour of serious learning and oh, I just got the news now that somebody just died of coronavirus. Did you get that also? Burujika Samu.
Gee, yes,
You saw it,
so I
right?
saw that as it's sad, isn't it?
It is. So it's not this coronavirus is not just for the poor guys. It's for everyone.
No, it's not.
It kills
Mm,
everyone.
unfortunately,
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 quite unfortunately. But
we
this is
feel
the
that we have
question
to
we
stick.
have then.
So yeah,
Where are the medical facilities for a first aid treatment? Where are the with all our money, with all our strength, with our population, you think it should be an advantage to us as a country, but it
mm,
has been the greatest disadvantage to Nigerians. Mr. Tope
exactly.
Fasua, I've held you for 1 hour, 10 minutes, and 42 seconds. It's been a, a moment of learning and information and education for everyone who has watched this. Thank you so much for coming online. I appreciate you for creating time out of your schedule. And I hope once again, anytime I call on you as a big brother, you'll be available for me and for the rest of the people who want to listen to you. Thank you so much,
All
and
right,
God
bro.
bless you for
Thank
coming.
you so much.
Thank
Yes,
you so
thank
much,
you.
brother. Yeah.